I never imagined a simple offer could lead to a heartbreaking love story. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started with a text. Just a simple, innocent message that vibrated my phone, but it sent a chill down my spine. My heart raced as I read it. Meet me at the old café. I have something important to share. It was from Alex. Alex, my childhood friend, my secret crush. The one person who made me feel alive. I didn't know what could be so vital that it warranted an urgent meeting in a place filled with whispers of our shared memories, laughter, dreams, and the sweet scent of pastries. A tingle of hope stirred within me, but anxiety coiled tighter in my chest. As I walked there, the world blurred around me. The vibrant colors of the falling leaves contrasted with the dull thud of my heart. Each step echoed, my trembling hands pushed through the air like they were fighting against invisible forces. When I finally arrived, the café welcomed me with its warmth, but I felt anything but at ease. Alex sat in our usual corner, his face partially obscured by shadows. His eyes, usually bright and teasing, held a depth that unsettled me. "You came," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. My stomach dropped. I noticed his hands. They quivered, just like mine. "Of course, I came. What is going on?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my attempts at calm. He looked down, as if the table held the answers I desperately sought. The stillness stretched, making it unbearable. The usual buzzing of conversations faded. All I heard was my heartbeat thump, thump, thump. I need to tell you something," he stammered, his words getting tangled in the air. My palms grew clammy. Memories surged: the camping trips, secret notes passed in class, stolen glances. They clashed with an unsettling fear of what he might say. Suddenly, he looked up, his face ashen. "It's about Emma." My breath hitched. Emma, his girlfriend and my best friend. She glided through life effortlessly, all sunshine and laughter. The thought of her filled my heart with a strange mix of confusion and dread. "We're not as perfect as everyone thinks." Each word cut deeper, sending shards of ice through my veins. I leaned closer, my stomach in knots. "What do you mean?" His silence was deafening. Then, he dropped the bombshell. "I think I might love you." The room spun. Clarity and chaos danced around me, until I felt like I couldn't breathe. My heart shattered and soared at the same time. What did this mean? Everything felt like a tightrope, swaying dangerously. I opened my mouth to speak, but words failed me. Every emotion battled within me: hope, longing, confusion. I grasped the table, fighting against the urge to flee. Instead, I asked the question that hung heavy in the air. What about Emma? And just like that, the ground beneath me shifted, leaving me teetering on the edge. I could see his mind racing, the internal turmoil, tears pooling in my eyes. The cafe noises faded completely, leaving us trapped in our own world. There it was, the heart of the matter, raw and exposed. What would become of us? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods filled the air, inviting patrons to linger over their conversations. But in that moment, nestled in our corner, the cafe felt like a bubble, isolating us from the world outside. My pulse quickened as the weight of what Alex had just said settled heavily on my chest. What about Emma? Echoed painfully in my mind, a question that split my heart in two. That he didn't respond immediately. Instead, the silence grew thick and suffocating. Outside, a couple laughed as they shared a pastry, their joy starkly contrasting my inner turmoil. I wished I could blend back into their world, to slip away from the confusion, but the reality of this moment anchored me in place. "I never meant for this to happen," Alex finally murmured, his voice cracking. "I don't want to hurt her. But with you, it feels different. Real." His gaze held a pleading quality, mingling desperation and sincerity. "How long have you felt this way?" I asked, my voice trembling, trying to keep my own heartache from spilling over. Every piece of me wanted to scream at him for not saying anything sooner, yet I felt the onset of his internal struggle, knowing how intricately our lives were woven together. I didn't know what to do. "I didn't want to lose you as a friend," he confessed, rubbing the back of his neck as he avoided my gaze. "It all came crashing down after we went to the lake last month. I saw you laughing, and it hit me I don't just want to be friends. I need more." The memories flooded back, the carefree moments by the water, the way the sun caught his laughter and mine, the innocent touch of our hands that lingered a moment too long. I felt as though I was being pulled in two directions, one toward the thrill of hope, a chance to explore what we could be, and the other toward the potential heartache of Emma. I felt dizzy. "Alex," I started, ready to unravel a desperate plea for him to reconsider. But before I could find my voice, he leaned in, his eyes searching mine. "I don't want to hurt you, and I especially don't want to hurt Emma," he said fervently, as if sensing the rising tide of my emotions. "I need to figure this out." Suddenly, a small voice broke through our heavy silence. "Excuse me." A young girl, perhaps no older than 8, stood by our table, clutching a teddy bear, her eyes wide and innocent. "Can I sit here?" Mom's at the counter. Her presence was a spark of warmth in the cold storm brewing between us. I motioned for her to join, grateful for anything to distract from the looming heartache. She squeezed onto the bench across from us, beaming at Alex. "Hi. I like your hair," she said innocently, her eyes shining with youthful admiration. Alex chuckled, momentarily distracted from the gravity of our conversation. "Thanks. I like your teddy bear." In that small interaction, hope flickered to life. We exchanged a glance, and in that moment, both of us seemed to understand that children see the world without all the complex emotions we carry as adults. The little girl hugged her bear tightly, and I remembered the simplicity of childhood friendships before life became entangled in the webs of love and expectations. As the girl chattered on about her favorite toys, I felt a gentle tug at my heart. Maybe this moment was a reminder of what was worth preserving: connection, laughter, support. But as she spoke, Alex's gaze shifted to mine, and the gravity of our conversation snapped back into focus, reminding me of what lay ahead. Suddenly, Alex's phone buzzed on the table, breaking our momentary escape. He glanced down, and his face paled. "It's Emma." My heart sank. I knew she'd been busy with work, but hearing her name shattered the fragile peace we'd just constructed. His expression shifted, confusion flooding his features. I should take this." Without waiting for my response, he stood and stepped outside, leaving me in a swirl of confusion and unresolved feelings. The little girl continued talking, but I barely registered her words as I watched Alex through the cafe window, his figure tense against the autumn backdrop. The thrill and possibility I had felt just moments ago felt painfully out of reach now. As I pulled back into my thoughts, a realization struck me: Alex was torn not just between us, but also between how to navigate this complicated web we had all become part of. Standing at the edge of an emotional precipice, we were all waiting for clarity in a storm of tangled emotions. Then, the unexpected happened. The little girl nudged my arm, breaking the gloomy trance. "Are you okay? You look like you're about to cry." Her concern tugged at something deep within me. Without thinking, I nodded and managed to smile at her. "Yeah, I'm okay. Just thinking a lot right now." "Sometimes thinking too much is bad," she declared seriously as she patted her teddy bear, seemingly oblivious to the turmoil the adults around her were facing. Her earnestness stirred something anew within me. I couldn't help but wonder if in this complex web of love and friendship, it was worth believing in the goodness and kindness of people. Would I dare to hope that things would somehow work out? Suddenly, Alex burst back through the cafe door, his face drawn, fear etched across his features. "We need to talk," he said urgently, his words hanging heavy in the air, heavy as the clouds that loomed outside, threatening rain. My heart thudded painfully as I braced for what was to come, for the revelation that could change everything. The little girl's laughter fizzled out on my ears, the warmth of her innocence waning as the reality of Alex's return shattered the fragile moment we'd built. I looked up at him, heart pounding with a mix of dread and curiosity. His eyes were wide, glistening with unspoken words, and I could feel the weight of his next confession hanging heavily in the air between us. "What is going on?" I found myself asking, desperate to keep the turmoil at bay, though I could feel it rising again like a storm. I glanced at the little girl, her enthusiastic chatter slowing as she sensed the shift in atmosphere. Her smile faded, replaced by concern, and in that moment, I realized how easily innocence could break under the strain of adult problems. Alex took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling as if he were about to dive into turbulent waters. "Emma, she's in the hospital," he said finally, words spilling out in a rush as though they were suffocating him. She fainted at work. They think it might be a panic attack." My heart sank further, heavy with guilt and empathy. A mere hour ago, I had been consumed with our tangled feelings, but to think of Emma, of her struggles, turned my unease into something darker. The weight of my emotions churned inside me, battling between the desire for Alex and the distress for his girlfriend. "Is she okay?" I whispered, almost afraid to voice the concern that swelled within me. I was pulled into the gravity of the situation, my own troubles dissipating like mist in the sunlight. "I don't know yet," he replied, his voice trembling as he sank back into the seat opposite me, his hands trembling at his sides. "I need to be there for her. I can't quite process everything." His eyes brimmed with desperation, and I felt a strange compulsion to comfort him, even as the consequences of his emotions loomed like shadows. The little girl, sensing the tension, leaned over and patted my hand reassuringly. "I'm sure she'll be okay. Grown-ups always take care of each other." Her faith provided a flicker of light amidst the encroaching darkness of our situation that I should have felt a surge of hope, but the weight of uncertainty lay heavy within me. "You should go to her, Alex," I said, my voice stark and sincere. "She needs you right now. This is bigger than us." He nodded, his expression a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. "I don't want to leave you like this. I don't want to hurt you." As his words clung to the air, I found a moment of clarity amidst my own turmoil. "You have to take care of Emma. She's your priority right now." Each word felt like a stone lifted from my chest, but with every declaration of support, I felt an aching void building inside. "What if she finds out?" he asked quietly, his voice thick with worry and regret. "About us. About how I feel. Then we face it when the time comes. She'll handle it the way she needs to, just as you need to handle her," I replied, the resolve in my voice surprising even myself. "Right now, just go. She needs you." Before he could respond, the waitress approached our table, delicately balancing 2 steaming cups of coffee. On the house, she smiled, perhaps sensing the heaviness in our interaction, and set the cups down before glancing at the little girl. "I hope everything turns out all right." After she left, Alex looked at me, gratitude mingling with fear. "I wish I could fix this. I wish it didn't feel like we're in a rowboat on a stormy sea." "Just keep rowing, Alex," I said softly, a slight tremor in my voice. "Do what you must." With a nod, he rose from the table, lingering for a moment as if he could hold on to the hope of a future that had fast slipped away. "I'm sorry for all of this," he murmured, his eyes searching mine for lingering reassurance. "Me too," I whispered, my own heart aching as he turned to leave. I watched him go, my stomach twisted in knots as I replayed our conversation. A heavy silence enveloped me, echoing the vacancy of our unresolved feelings. The little girl sensed my sadness and leaned closer, her small hand reaching for mine. "Can we be friends? I think that would make you happy again." Her sincerity struck a chord deep within, the innocence grounding me amidst a storm of emotion. I managed a smile, drawn into her honest belief in connection. "I'd like that." But even as she chatted away, my worries pooled beneath the surface. Could I build a friendship anew while Alex faced his storm with Emma? What would happen to us, the we that had yet to begin, as we waded through the murky waters of uncertainty and hurt? Just then, my phone buzzed on the table, startling me. Glancing down, my heart stopped. It was a message from Emma's number, but a photo appeared, one that sent a shiver through me. A group of people stood together in front of a hospital room, all wearing expressions I didn't understand: concern, empathy, confusion. And in the middle of them all stood Alex, holding tightly to Emma's hand, his eyes shimmering not with relief, but with something darker, something that hinted at the possibility of betrayal. My mind spun, unraveling with implications. Who was that beside them? Why did their expressions seem to shadow the hope I had desperately clung to? With the little girl's words echoing in my heart, I felt a pulse of betrayal coursing through my veins, telling me that the next step on this journey was going to plunge us all deeper into an emotional abyss I never could have anticipated. The world outside the cafe seemed to blur as I stared at the screen, the vibrant colors melting into a gray fog of confusion and dread. It took every ounce of will to break my gaze from the photo, but eventually, I forced myself to set the phone down on the table, trembling fingers lingering on the ridge of the screen. The little girl beside me noticed the tension in my shoulders. "Do you want to go outside?" she asked with an innocent sincerity that tugged at my heartstrings. That I nodded, grateful for the distraction, even if it was just an attempt to hold on to any semblance of normalcy amidst chaos. Together, we stepped out into the crisp air, the chill wrapping around us like a shroud. The little girl chattered about her school and her favorite games, oblivious to the tempest that swirled within me. As we strolled down the street, my thoughts flickered back to that photo, the way Alex grasped Emma's hand, the urgency in his eyes, all of them framed by the stark reality of a hospital room. He had made his choice clear that day, and with every passing moment, it pounded further into my chest, echoing like an ominous drum. The image taunted me with the unspoken questions: why was he there? What did it mean for us? My heart clenched in a painful rhythm that felt like betrayal. Just as it seemed my worries would consume me, the little girl stopped abruptly, her wide eyes glued to a window displaying colorful kites flapping against the blue sky. "Look! Can we get one?" she squealed, her excitement bubbling over. I couldn't help but smile at her unabashed delight. "Sure," I replied, unexpected warmth spreading through the cold that had wrapped around my heart. Maybe a kite could symbolize something more, a glimmer of hope in the turmoil. Inside the shop, I watched her as she bounced from one kite to another, her laughter brightening the room. As I helped her choose, I caught the eye of the shopkeeper, an elderly man with deep-set wrinkles and kind eyes. He approached us, his demeanor softening the atmosphere. "Picking out a kite?" he asked, a gentle smile playing on his lips. "You know, kites can fly high even against the wind. Sometimes, they remind us to keep going, even when things get rough." His words embroiled a fragile comfort within me, though I felt the shadow of sorrow still lurking in the corners of my mind. "I hope so," I whispered, my fingers tracing the edges of a vibrant blue kite adorned with bright yellow stars. "Trust me, dear," he encouraged softly, noticing the unease that danced in my expression. "No storm lasts forever. The sun always breaks through again." I bought the kite, enraptured by the small moments of kindness threading through this day. As we stepped back outside, the little girl's tiny hand wrapped tightly around mine, her laughter resonating with newfound vigor. But even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing at the precipice of something monumental. The kite tugged at its string in my hand, beckoning against the wind, just as my heart longed to soar, free from the bonds of guilt and fear. As the little girl danced with her newly acquired kite, a sudden buzz shattered my reverie. My phone vibrated insistently in my pocket, and as I pulled it out, a wave of dread washed over me. It was another message from Emma, but this one contained only a voice note. My heart raced as I hit play. "Hey, it's Emma. I don't want to worry anyone, but there is something I need to tell you, something about Alex and where he was tonight." Her voice cracked, and I felt my breath catch. Panic threaded through my veins like ice as the words hung in the air, echoing the unease that had settled deep within my heart just moments before. What could possibly be next? What secrets lay beneath the surface, and would they drown us all? The sweet, innocent laughter of the little girl faded as my thoughts spiraled. I knew I had to respond, to unravel the twists of their story and my role in it, but the uncertainty loomed heavy. When the little girl pulled on my hand, asking if I was ready to fly the kite, I found my voice barely above a whisper. "Just give me a moment." As she bounded ahead, I stood still, grasping the phone tightly, emotion swirling within me like a tempest. With every heartbeat, I felt the pull toward an emotional abyss, and the walls that were once steady began to tremble around me. I had to know what Emma had on her mind, but at what cost? The crisp air bit at my cheeks as I stood frozen, the weight of the voice note pressing against my psyche like an unrelenting tide. The little girl danced ahead, her laughter fading into the distance, but the chaos within me roared louder, demanding attention. What could Emma possibly reveal that would change everything? My chest tightened with the tightening of an unseen vice that I pocketed my phone, forcing my legs to move, eager to reclaim my day, to hold on to the fleeting warmth offered by that innocent smile. I caught up to the little girl, whose excitement bubbled over as she tugged the string of the blue kite, her own laughter filling the space around us like a bomb. It was hard not to be enchanted by her zest for life, yet every gleeful peal rung in stark contrast to the turmoil surging through my core. "Look. Can you help me throw it up?" she asked, bouncing on the balls of her feet in anticipation. I nodded, suppressing the storm within me. We set the kite down on a patch of grass, and she ran a few steps back, the string taut in her small hands. 1, 2, 3. She shouted, and our hands lifted in unison, sending the kite soaring into the blue. For a moment, all thoughts of Alex and Emma disappeared as the kite danced above us, a brilliant burst of colors against a bright backdrop. "See. It's flying. It's so pretty." Her voice rang with pure joy that felt infectious, and my heart warmed even as the shadows loomed around the edges of my mind. Moments passed, but as the kite lifted higher, so too did the pit in my stomach. I tried to focus on the strings that held us together, the laughter, her tiny fingers, the fleeting moments, but each gust of wind felt like it carried away more than just our kite. It felt like it was stealing my peace, leaving behind a growing chasm of uncertainty. "Can you get it? It's too high," she piped, looking up with wide, hopeful eyes. I chuckled softly and bent down to her level. Sometimes, when things feel too high, we have to find a way to let them go. Not everything is meant to touch our hands, but it sure can spark our imaginations, right? She nodded, contemplative yet still bright-eyed. "Like magic." "Exactly," I said, trying to believe that maybe, just maybe, a little magic was still possible for me too. But my heart felt heavy with impending revelations, weighted by the knowledge that the freedom of the kite wouldn't erase the truths buried beneath the surface. I needed to hear what Emma had to say. The fear gnawed at me, threatening to obscure the connection I suddenly cherished with the little girl, as if I were balancing on a tightrope above the abyss. Eventually, the kite began to falter, dipping and dancing in awkward patterns before making its descent. A sharp ache nestled in my heart as I thought of the heights it had reached, mirrored by the surging emotions that echoed my inner turmoil. I caught it just as it reached the grass, tugging it back with careful hands before turning to look at the little girl, who was brimming with curiosity. "Can we fly it again?" she asked breathlessly, her admiration for the moment radiating warmth around us. "Of course. Let us try one more time, but this time, let us work together." Her face lit up like the sun, and I began to unwind the string, but the distant vibration of my phone ricocheted in the back of my mind. I knew I shouldn't ignore Emma's message any longer. "Listen, I need to take a quick call." My voice trembled, the words tasting bitter as I reached for my phone. I took a deep breath, feigning nonchalance as I stepped a few paces away. The screen lit up with Emma's name, and every inch of my being screamed to ignore it. But curling my fingers around the device, I pressed play once more, drawing in a shaky breath. "Hey, it's me again. I know you might be busy, but you need to know this. Alex didn't just go to the hospital for a friend. He's been keeping something from you. And it's about his family. There is something serious I think you should understand. Please, call me back. I'm worried." Panic surged through me, twisting my insides. The world around me dulled, until the laugh of the girl spun quickly into static. I dropped my phone, the sound of it clattering against the ground echoing my growing dread. What did this mean? What had Alex hidden? The little girl chased after the kite, her joy juxtaposed against my crawling panic, the horizon before me darkening with uncertainty. I turned back sharply, my heart racing, only to find her standing there, her tiny hands reaching up for my own, the embodiment of innocence and trust. "Are you okay? You look scared," she said, her childlike concern piercing through my chaos. I hesitated, words caught in my throat. How could I explain what was rising within me like a storm, ready to break? I took her small hands in mine, squeezing them gently, grounding myself in her presence. I need to sort something out. But don't worry, all right?" As she nodded, a voice rose within me pleading for clarity, for truth. I realized as I stood there, gripped by uncertainty, that it wasn't just Alex's choice that came between us. It was what lay beneath it all, the shadows threatening to engulf everything I held dear. With the kite resting at my feet, I glanced skyward, watching it flail and struggle against the pulling wind. The answer remained just out of reach, veiled by the secrets I was unprepared to confront. Death by 1,000 cuts, I thought, as the weight of impending revelations bore down on me. And just like that, a quiet resolve settled in, one that whispered that I couldn't run from the truth any longer. Yet, as I collected my thoughts, the dawning awareness blared inside me like a twisted siren. What may have been a simple call now loomed larger than life, a fracture that could break everything I had so desperately tried to keep together. The late afternoon sun slanted through the trees, casting long shadows on the grass where the girl danced with unending enthusiasm, unaware of the storm brewing within me. I stood at a crossroads, my mind tangled in moments past and potential futures colliding in a way that made my heart race with both excitement and fear. "Can we fly the kite again?" she asked, her innocence a stark contrast to the swirling thoughts that clouded my mind. Her joy felt like a buoy amid the turbulent waters of uncertainty, but I was helplessly aware that I couldn't stay lost in this moment forever. I had to confront whatever reality awaited me, whatever cost my heart might pay. That I picked up the kite, feeling the fabric brush against my fingers, so light, yet so heavy with unspoken words. "Sure, let us fly it one more time," I replied with a smile, forcing my heart to match her enthusiasm. As we prepared the kite again, I caught a glimpse of her excited grin, the way her eyes sparkled with hope, and I couldn't help but feel a swell of affection. This little girl, with her unflinching trust, represented everything pure and beautiful in the world. A flicker of determination ignited within me. Perhaps, just for this moment, I could blend my confusion into the backdrop of her laughter, but then, a rustling sound distracted my focus. Turning, I spotted a figure approaching, a silhouette framed in the fading sunlight. My heart thrummed erratically as the familiar outline sharpened into the face that haunted me even in my dreams. It was Alex, casting a long shadow over the already complicated situation. "Hey," he called, coming to a stop a few feet away, his voice shaking the foundation I'd built at that moment. The little girl looked back at me in confusion, but my focus remained locked on Alex. "What are you doing here?" I managed to say, my emotions a tempest churning within me. "I came to find you," he replied, his eyes searching mine, layered with an emotional weight that made my skin tingle. "I think we need to talk." I tore my gaze from his, my chest tightening. The words from Emma's voice note echoed in my mind. What did he have to hide? Alex, I struggled against the current of my thoughts, searching for a way to articulate the whirlwind inside me. The little girl tilted her head, sensing the tension that swirled around us. Can he help us fly the kite? She chimed in, her voice cutting through the heavy silence, a small beacon of hope. Alex knelt down beside her, a soft smile forming. Of course. I'd love to help, he said, his demeanor brightening as he engaged with her. It was an enchanting sight, and as the three of us worked together to lift the kite again, I felt a tension that was both comforting and explosive. The kite soared, but my heart plummeted with the realization it was all a facade, an illusion built on a fragile layer of denial. As the kite danced up high, twirling in patterns of vitality, I felt my resistance falter. You haven't answered my question, Alex. What are you hiding? His expression faltered, uncertainty shadowing his features as he caught my eyes. There are things you don't know, things about my family, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, as though saying them aloud could precipitate their significance. The little girl gasped, the kite dipping momentarily as her attention divided between us and the colorful glider above. Can you tell us a story about it? She piped, innocent and eager, a stark contrast to the heaviness that hung between Alex and me. I looked at Alex, hoping he would take a step forward, but he hesitated. Time stood still as we exchanged glances riddled with unspoken fears, so many barriers leaping between us, but also a flicker of hope. If he could share something, if we could confront this together, maybe it wouldn't shatter us. Whispers aren't stories, I finally said, testing the waters, the little girl's cheerful laughter fading momentarily as the air thickened with the weight of unshared truths. He nodded, anguish flickering across his features. I know. It's just complicated. Complicated doesn't mean impossible, I urged, finding strength in the little girl's earnest gaze. You owe me more than just glances and half-truths. If we're going to do this, all of it, I need to understand. For a moment, I could see him wrestling with himself. The kite danced above us, fluttering freely, reminding me of everything that hung in the balance. The child, oblivious to the intensity of our standoff, tugged at the string, oblivious to the impending storm cloaked in our shared silence. Just before Alex could respond, the little girl squealed, "Look! It's going higher." She tugged on my sleeve, completely lost in the moment. And that was when it happened. The string slipped from her fingers, the kite faltered, and in slow motion, spiraled downwards. The moment shattered, scattering the light-heartedness like glass. The little girl's eyes widened in horror, her laughter silenced in an instant as the kite landed with a dull thud on the earth. In that split second, Alex's eyes locked onto mine with a mixture of fear and desperation, and the weight of our unspoken revelation settled on my shoulders like a leaden cloak. Stop! Don't let it go. We can fix this. I cried, feeling the brittle facade shatter between us. But as I rushed to catch the kite, I knew that we were now headed towards an inescapable truth, a reckoning that could either bind us together or rip us apart, and the latter loomed heavier than I ever dared to imagine. The sun dipped lower in the sky as the warmth that had enveloped us faded, carrying with it the brightness of our moment. I stood frozen, the fallen kite lay limply against the ground, its bright colors dulled by the gravity of our unspoken fears. The little girl stood beside me, her small hand clutching my shirt, her innocent trust suddenly jarring against the weight in my heart. Can we make it fly again? She asked softly, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears as if the world she understood was teetering on the brink of something dark. Feeling a sudden tightness in my throat, I swallowed hard. We can try, sweetheart. But inside, the hopelessness was gnawing at my resolve. Could we truly fix something that felt so broken, or was this just the start of a spiraling downfall? Alex dropped to his knees beside the little girl, his expression softening as he gently stroked her hair. Hey, it's okay. Sometimes things fall, but we can put them back together. He was trying to cushion the blow for her, but the reality that loomed between us felt like an insurmountable wall. I stepped back, needing to catch my breath. Alex, you can't just offer words like that. We need to address what's real between us, I blurted out, anger and desperation colliding in my chest. His gaze met mine, a storm brewing behind those hazel eyes of his as he stood up slowly, pressing his lips together, lost in thought. The little girl turned away, distracted by the remnants of her broken joy, letting the atmosphere around us shift into something prickly and unfriendly. Alex started, but the words hesitated on his lips, heavy with regret. "What did you try, Alex?" I pressed, pushing the issue. Each moment spiraling around us felt more alive, more painful. "You think your secrets make this easier?" The little girl recovered her footing, wringing her hands in distress as she looked between us. "I'm really sorry the kite fell. I didn't mean to. Can we fix it together?" Her voice trembled, but with determination that made me ache. "I'm really sorry, too," I said, kneeling in front of her, visualizing the pieces of joy that were scattered in the grass. "We will make it fly again, I promise. And I'll help you find a way to glue it back together, okay?" Alex, standing behind us, was silent, and I could feel him retreating again, retreating into his labyrinth of complicity. I could sense the fear rolling off him in waves, and it felt unfair for me to shoulder the burden of our truths alone. Suddenly, a rustle disturbed our fragile moment, drawing all our attention. A group of teenagers, laughing and shoving each other, meandered into our previously sacred space, their raucous energy infusing a crackling tension that felt sharp against our unresolved emotions. "Hey, you guys see that?" one of them yelled, pointing at our broken kite. "Looks like someone's day just went down in flames." Laughter erupted around them, pouring salt onto the wound of my awakening that I stood, anger peaking within me like a rising tide. "This is not just a joke for you. This is a moment we're trying to share something real." They laughed harder, dismissing anything but their own amusement as the lead girl snapped back, "It's just a kite. You just need to get over it already." She flipped her hair over her shoulder, oblivious to the turmoil around her. "That's enough." Alex's voice broke through the laughter, surprising me. It cracked with an authority I had never heard from him before. The group fell silent, suddenly noticing the radiant sorrow in the girl's eyes, in my clenched fists. "What do you want from us?" one of the boys sneered. "Not our fault you can't handle a little embarrassment." Everything felt charged, the air thick with tensions that bounced back and forth like the glider that had once danced freely. I could see Alex inhaling deeply, searching for words, but the struggle was clear in the furrow of his brow. "Just leave us alone," he shot back, and while the bravado seemed to slip off him like water, my heart swelled slightly at the unexpected fortress he was trying to build around us. The teenagers exchanged glances, whispers trailing off as they finally chose to move on, their laughter trailing into the distance. Only then did the weight of the unspoken return to settle heavily in the air, thicker than before, a reminder that even amidst chaos, we had each other's backs. "Alex," I began, not sure how to articulate what was swelling within me. But before I could bridge the distance between our hearts, an unexpected phone vibration startled me from my thoughts. It was Emma's name flashing across my screen. With a glance toward Alex, who was still reeling from the moment, I couldn't help but feel dread creeping in at the edges of my hope. I hesitated, debating whether to answer, sensing the storm of whatever news awaited me on the other side. Would it change everything again? Placing my finger on the screen, I caught Alex's eyes meeting mine, all the unacknowledged layers between us thick with uncertainty. As my pulse quickened, I knew that whatever I chose to do next could be the catalyst for something irrevocable. Would it help repair our cracks, or widen them? It could be the end of us before the beginning truly started. As I stared at the phone, doubt knotted tightly in my stomach, each passing second ballooned with the weight of unanswered questions. Emma's name glared at me like a beacon, and yet, a storm raged within me. Did I want to risk what was left of my fragile connection with Alex? "Are you going to answer that?" he asked quietly, his gaze steady yet filled with vulnerability. The moment felt like a kaleidoscope of emotions: fear, yearning, and the undeniable flicker of hope. I cleared my throat, my thumb hovering over the screen. "It could be important," I said, my voice trailing off, enveloped by the tension thick in the air. I felt his eyes on me, searching for clarity, but I couldn't bear to reveal the turmoil swirling beneath my surface. Or it could just be more confusion, Alex muttered, rubbing the back of his neck, his pained expression igniting an empathy I barely understood. Sometimes it feels like the more we hold on to things, the harder we grip, the more it slips away. His words resonated deeply, reverberating in the empty spaces between us. The kite still lay crumpled at our feet, symbolizing our fractured dreams and unspoken fears. Without thinking, I answered the call. "Hello." My voice trembled slightly, the sound of Emma's assured tone comforting even as it ignited an unsettling panic. She launched into a fast-paced recounting of her day, but all I heard was the ghost of lost affection weaving through the air. I felt anchored to the moment, torn between the need to listen and the aching need for someone solid beside me. "Can we talk?" It's important," she finally said, and my breath caught. I exchanged a glance with Alex, whose expression had morphed from tenderness to confusion, the realization hanging heavily in the space between us. "I'm with someone right now. Can it wait?" I asked, my heart racing as I immediately regretted not just hanging up. I was grasping at the fraying edges of an old bond that seemed to tug at my consciousness more than I ever wanted to admit. "Please," just the urgency in her voice cut through the air, swirling with mystery and a sense of foreboding. "There is something you need to hear, and it can't wait." I hesitated, the weight of Alex's piercing gaze on me weighing like stones in my chest. Taking a deep breath, I finally said, "Okay, I'm listening, but can I speak to you later?" "Now." She snapped, and I flinched at the sharpness of her tone. There was a crackle in the air as though she was able to reach beyond the phone, beyond simple words, into the heart of what had been lost. "Please." I nodded instinctively as if she could see me, though it was Alex's face that consumed my thoughts. The small girl beside us had wandered off to examine the remnants of her kite, seeking a solace in her moment of innocence that felt so far from my grasp. "Emma, what's wrong?" I pressed, keeping my voice steady despite the panic spooling within me. "It's about your mom. And my dad." Her voice quivered as she spoke, I could hear the choked emotion beneath her words. "There is something you need to know. Something significant." "About them?" I questioned. My instincts kicked in, a primal warning that this could sever the fragile threads of hope I felt with Alex. "Yes. And it's news that changes everything." I processed her words slowly, like a pebble slowly sinking into a pit of despair. The breath caught deep in my throat, the enormity of her revelation flooding my mind with unanswered questions. I cast a glance at Alex, whose face flickered with a mix of concern and sadness. I could feel the chasm growing wider, splitting the very fabric of our moment. "Emma, wait," I began, needing to anchor myself before I left behind everything I had worked to piece together. But she had already hung up. The call faded, leaving me clutching the phone, a shocked silence wrapping around us. I turned toward Alex, whose expression had gone ghostly, a shadow of disbelief clouding his features. "What did she say?" he whispered, the space between us crackling with the weight of unasked questions. I swallowed hard, the truth clinging to the roof of my mouth like a bitter taste. "It's about my mom and your dad." The words hung in the air, laden with significance. In that moment, it no longer felt like we were on the precipice together, it felt like we were hurtling toward a chasm of uncertain truths. Our hearts beat in unison, but the rhythm began to feel strained, threatened by the impending storm brewing beyond our fragile understanding. As hope battled against dread, I couldn't shake the sense that this was merely the beginning of a deeper fracture, a realization that our pasts were entwined in ways we never anticipated. Then the little girl returned, her bright smile like a candle flickering dangerously close to a gust of wind. "I found a piece," she exclaimed, holding up a tattered fragment of fabric, one that looked suspiciously like the tail of her once vibrant kite. We both stared, and in that moment, the weight of the world shifted again. Could we still cling to these fleeting moments of joy, or were we forever destined to unravel in our tangled narratives? The question kissed the edges of our hearts, lingering as both a sigh of hope and a lament for what we so desperately needed, a connection that felt just out of reach. And as the girl stepped toward us, a sudden realization dawned on me: even in finding those small pieces of connection, our hearts remain precariously perched at the edge of an irrevocable truth waiting in the shadows, ready to emerge and shatter everything we had so timidly begun to rebuild. The world around me faded into the background as the enormity of Emma's call settled heavily in my chest. My gaze met Alex's wide eyes filled with questions, yet in his expression, I saw something else brewing, an underlying apprehension, perhaps a spark of betrayal. I felt the fragile strands of our connection begin to strain, like an overstretched rubber band that could snap at any moment. "I can't believe this," Alex finally murmured, stepping back slightly as if creating distance might safeguard him from whatever storm was brewing. What could she possibly have to say about our parents that would change everything? I wished I could answer him. I wished I could unwrap the complicated layers of my own emotions and present a coherent story. Instead, all I could offer was silence, laced with the bitter taste of anxiety. I felt like I was standing on a precipice, with both our histories pushing me over the edge. That I glanced once more at the little girl who had been momentarily filled with joy over her found peace, her laughter fading into my thoughts. She was blissfully unaware of the turmoil surrounding us, a joyful reminder of innocence lost, and yet a stark contrast to the chaos brewing in my heart. Let us sit down," I suggested, my voice trembling as the weight of revelation crashed down on us. We moved to a nearby bench, the splintery wood digging slightly into my skin as I tried to ground myself against the incoming tide of emotions. I inhaled deeply, almost hoping to find solace in the air. "I don't know what Emma means," I finally confessed. "But I do know that we've been bound by so many things we don't understand. Maybe this is the key to the past, or maybe it's just another blow that tears us apart." The silence grew thick around us, the moment pregnant with uncertainty. Alex's brow furrowed, and I could see him grappling with his own thoughts, probably doing everything he could to understand the depths of this new twist in our lives. "You think it's something bad?" he asked quietly, his voice shaky as if he were fearful of the answer. I paused, battling the suffocating tightness around my chest before exhaling the words, "I think it could reveal truths neither of us are ready to face." Suddenly, a vibration from my phone interrupted us, the sound slicing through the heavy atmosphere. It was another message from Emma, and my heart raced as I opened it. I prayed she would provide clarity, but my breath hitched as I read the words, "Meet me at the café we used to go to. I can't explain in a text. We need to talk in person. It's about your mom and the past that you both deserve to know. Please, trust me." "What's wrong?" Alex noticed my sudden change in demeanor. "She wants us to meet." "It can't wait," I whispered, my heart clenching at the idea of trust looming over them, shifting the dynamics of everything we had come to know and rely on. "Why would you trust her?" he asked, urgency gripping his tone. "After everything?" "I don't know if I do," I replied honestly, pushing back against the tide of doubt swelling within me. "But if there's even a chance it could bring us answers or closure, how can we turn away?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustration and pain flickering across his face. "I don't like this. What if it opens old wounds or brings up things we're both not ready to deal with?" I glanced away, weighing the implications of his words. Part of me wanted to shield him, to protect us from the raw and unhealed scars that life had whipped our way, but another part urged me forward, a fierce resolve gnawing at my heart. Suddenly, the little girl approached us, her hands clutching something tightly. "I want to give you this," she said. In her hand, she held a tiny, slightly torn, yet beautifully stitched fabric just like the one she had found earlier, but this one belonged to a kite stretched towards the sky and painted with vibrant colors, now dulled by weathering. "It's my favorite." I accepted her offering tentatively. The weight of the piece felt like a simple symbol of hope among chaos, a reminder that sometimes the fragments we find can offer unexpected joy. I turned it over in my fingers, the rough edges filled with character. The girl smiled brightly, as if knowing how important this moment would be for me. "Thank you," I said, smiling through the tide of melancholy rising in my chest. "I'll cherish it." As she skipped away, I watched her pure spirit, the innocent strong and unwavering, while our own lives felt too tangled to sort through. I turned back to Alex, his eyes fixated on the small piece in my hands, now a tangible reminder that no matter the darkness that loomed, even small moments spoke of connection and joy. "I'll meet Emma," I declared with sudden determination, though fear clawed at me. "We can't keep running away from whatever this is. It's time we confront the shadows." Alex's breath hitched, disbelief flashing in his eyes. "But what if it changes everything?" "If it does, then we'll face it together," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. He contemplated my words, uncertainty still clouding his features. Finally, he nodded, albeit cautiously. But as we stood at the brink of a moment that could encroach upon everything we had built, another message came through, shaking the very core of my resolve: "I wish you would have chosen differently. You don't know how deep our ties run." I felt my heart seize with dread as an ice-cold shiver traveled down my spine. The beautifully stitched fabric in my hands suddenly felt like a lifeline being pulled beneath turbulent waters, leaving me gasping for breath. We were stepping into a reality painted with uncharted pain, and I wasn't sure either of us would come out whole. The café loomed ahead, its familiar facade a stark reminder of the warmth we had once shared within those walls. My heart raced as I stepped inside, the fragrant scent of coffee brewing mingled with the bittersweet memories that echoed in every crevice. But this visit felt drastically different, weighed down by the weight of uncertainty and fear. I spotted Emma in the corner, her vibrant presence dulled by the shadows of her news. I could see her tracing patterns on the table, her fingers trembling as she awaited my arrival. "Hey," I greeted quietly, studying her face, trying to decipher the myriad of emotions coursing through her. She looked more fragile than I remembered, the light in her eyes flickering as if it were about to be extinguished. "Thank you for coming," she murmured, her voice a mere whisper amidst the background noise. I slid into the seat opposite her, feeling the chasm of our shared history stretch wider. "You said it was important. What do I need to know?" She hesitated, her gaze drifting to the window as if the world outside would provide the courage she lacked. "It's about our parents, about something that happened when we were kids. Something they never told us." An icy grip wrapped around my chest, squeezing tighter with each word. "What do you mean? Are they involved in something serious?" I could feel the heaviness building like a storm, my heart pounding in response. She took a deep breath, gathering whatever bravery she had left. "After your mom got sick, mine promised to look after you. But it was more than just a promise. They were intertwined in ways I didn't understand. There were things they did, secrets they kept." Her words spiraled into my mind, unraveling a tapestry of feelings: betrayal, confusion, fear. "What kind of secrets?" Emma pressed her lips together, a single tear trailing down her cheek. "They thought keeping us safe meant sheltering us from the truth. They thought it would keep us whole, but in their attempt to protect us, they only built walls between us." With every word, I felt the ground beneath me tremble, the cracks widening into invisible fault lines. "What are you saying, Emma?" My voice wavered, anxiety clawing at my resolve. "Your mom worked with my dad on something significant, some kind of research that traced back to our childhood. And it's bigger than we ever thought. I have documents, letters, everything. But I didn't want to believe it until now." My breath caught in my throat. Could it be true? You think they were hiding what? This could change everything. "Yes," she whispered, her gaze pleading, "and there's more. I think Alex knew about some of it." The shock reverberated through me. "Alex, my friend, my complication." No, that can't be." I shook my head. "Think about it. He's been different lately, hasn't he? The conversations, the secrecy." I felt something was off, and then when he went missing that night, Emma looked down at her hands, regret etched into her features. "I think he was trying to protect you." The churning sea of thought swelled. What had I missed? And what about him saying he loved me? Was that real? Emma reached across the table, grabbing my hand. "I think he was confused. And scared. We've pressed into a territory where our truths might unravel everything good we had. Her words stung like barbs, unearthing fears I had tried to ignore. And what happens when everything unravels, Emma? What if it tears us apart completely? What if the answers don't lead to closure? Her eyes shimmered with tears. It might break us. Or, maybe it will heal wounds we never even knew existed. With each word, the weight of choices past collided with a reality configured by unspoken truths. Little did I know that the sting of revelation was only the beginning. As the cafe noises faded around us, the urge to flee from the confrontation coerced me, but a stubborn flicker of courage lit a path within. We had to know, there was no turning back now. But if what you say is true, we need to confront Alex. Together, I declared, resolve hardening my voice. Emma nodded, her breathing steadying as if she too felt the gravity of our pact. We must understand this together. Before we could process any further, a figure stepped into the cafe. Alex. His expression shifted in an instant from confusion to realization, eyes locking onto mine, the weight of the past palpable in the air between us. "Hey," he said, his voice thick with tension. "Alex," I whispered, the air sucked from my lungs. "Emma called me," he said breathlessly, the flicker of apprehension in his eyes casting a shadow over his words. "What is going on?" "Secrets," I said, the weight of unturned truth heavy between us. "Emma thinks our parents were involved in something together, something that might explain everything." Intent and hurt mingled in our gazes, threatening to fracture the tenuous bond we had tried to establish. "Do you know about it?" His face fell, apprehension etched deep in his features. I didn't know how to tell you." The palpable tension shifted again, this time towards a fragile willingness to embrace the truth, even as fear gripped my heart. "I need you to be honest with me, Alex," I urged, my heart racing. "What's really happening? Please, let us go somewhere quiet," he pleaded, the raw edges of hope struggling against the tide of uncertainty. With tentative agreement, we turned to leave, a heavy silence following us like a lingering shadow. As we stepped outside, the world continued to whirl around us, oblivious to the monumental untangling of our lives that had just begun. The cafe faded behind us, blending into the backdrop of a new chapter as unknown truths and lived experiences readied themselves to collide. As the three of us walked down the street, dim light filtering through the trees around us, I felt an overwhelming wave of emotions, fear mingling with the quiet hope of reconnection. I knew we all stood on the brink of discovery, and that whatever awaited us would alter the path of our intertwined lives. All I could think as we moved forward was the echo of Emma's words, "Sometimes, healing begins in the brokenness." I took a deep breath, ready to uncover the secrets that could either bind us or set us free. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," I vowed, glancing between Alex and Emma, their expressions mingling with uncertainty and fragile trust. And as our steps pressed onward, the weight of our newfound honesty filled the air like a quiet promise to embrace whatever awaited us. We were hurtling toward an emotional reckoning, a confrontation with our past and an invaluable chance to forge a future anew, and I resolved we wouldn't look back again. In that moment, beneath the shroud of uncertainty, a flicker of hope began to take flight like a kite soaring high into the azure sky, weaving our stories together in a tapestry of resilience and belonging. No matter what's out there, I thought, as a surge of emotion coursed through me, we can create our own sunshine again.